Why is it that people allow their dreams to just stay as dreams, even when they're achievable? Hey everyone, Xavier here, and this is a topic that came up with me and my partner when we were having a conversation. In a world of acceptance of who you are and what you present yourself as, um, I would expect people's outlook on life to be a little bit more positive. And I can be a pretty antisocial person at times, but there is something that I realized lately after just talking with people a little bit more. If you saw my previous video on me getting a dumb phone, I'll just link it here. But it did get me to kind of give a little bit more outreach, right? And there's something in particular that I really noticed. A lot, and I mean a lot of people don't take accountability for the position that they're currently in life. And here's what I mean by that. One good example is I know a few people actually making more than me that claim they can't buy a house in today's market. And while I do agree that the economy is currently shit, I don't think anybody is, disagreeing with that. Actually, I'm not gonna say anybody because you got some crazy people out there. It's really because they aren't prioritizing being a homeowner that they can't buy a house in today's economy. My partner and I have been going in all in for this past year, and by the end of this lease, we're going to buy a house because we're tired of living in an apartment. How would you say are we making this possible? What people deem to be impossible? We sat down and completely broke down our finances and we opened different accounts, joint accounts, so that way we can just manage our bills and our savings together. And this is the part that nobody wants to hear. We went out a lot less. We ate out a lot less and we splurge a lot less. If you want something, you have to work for it. It's not always going to present itself to you in this beautifully wrapped box with a tiny bow on the top. And that's what I was kind of referring to in the beginning of video with people just not taking accountability with where they are. And don't get me wrong, like that it's such a tricky topic because I used to be in that same mindset as well. But luckily, I was able to meet and will soon marry somebody that was able to kind of change my mind about that completely. And essentially, your mindset is 90%, or not, I'm going to say 90 because you had to put in a lot of work, but your mindset is 50. And that's big because that's 50% including everything. You have your mindset, which would be 50. You got to put in the legwork, which would be, we'll say, a 25. You got to put in, the planning, which would be a 10. Like 50% of all that stuff, like that's a major thing. Your mindset is everything when it comes to that. If you wake up thinking that you're going to lose today, I hate to break it to you, but most likely that's what's going to end up happening. And it's not wrong to think something is unachievable. Like that's a part of being human. But at the same time, don't run around telling somebody that we, as in, today's youth, can't do something when you haven't even tried to put in the legwork for it or fully understand it. We can do this. And I do understand that everybody's circumstances are different. And luck plays a major factor in all this as well. Like within every success story, there's luck sprinkled all over it, right? A really good example I can think of is my own father. He came to this country without knowing a lick of English, worked his ass off to support his kids to make sure they never have to live the life that he lived when he was back in Dominican Republic. And what is that life? Rough and in poverty. He makes jokes about it now that he's older, obviously. That's what everybody does when you look back at all the crap that you've been through. But it truly shows that most of us have it better than so many people. And yet we still try to pretend like we are in this terrible spot in life. One of the jokes that he always tells that he's like dying through as he's saying, and like, it the way he says this in Spanish, so it's just one of those things where some Spanish jokes just don't translate to English. Essentially, he talked about what it was like eating in his household, how his dinner was like. They would buy one whole chicken for his brothers, his sisters, his mom, and his dad. His Mom and dad would get the chicken breast because, well, they're the owners and they're the ones that have to do all the legwork of the house, right? Like that, they do everything. They need the most amount of nutrients for their diet. Her sisters would get the chicken feet. No meat on those bones. They would get the chicken feet. That was their source of protein. His brother would get the wings. One of them would get the gizzards. My dad every night would get the chicken neck. And he's dying while he's telling the story. And again, the way he says it is so funny, but the point of the matter is he did not live a life where he had luxury at all. So he packed his stuff and made the terrifying trip over to the US Virgin Islands. After spending an extended period of time there, he met my mom and stuff like that. He realized that the people there were on the same kind of mindset as the people that were in Dominican Republic, where they're just like, we're okay with where we're at. And he just wasn't okay with it. Eventually, he landed in Florida. And from there, he bought his first house. It wasn't in the best areas. He had no furniture in there except for my brother's crib. And from there, they built. Since then, fast forwarding in time, he's purchased multiple properties, he's rented out his properties, and he's retired now. He's done fantastic for himself from where he came from. That's the winner mindset, right? He worked towards something and he got to where he needed to go. And he always, obviously, there are points where you're going to have that downtime where you don't have that drive, where you're down in the dumps. But he still worked through all that and didn't just sit there and take what was given to him. He made sure that, his kids were able to live a better life than he is. So to me, he won. Like he got that prize because that was his goal to begin with. And while I don't want to work as hard as he did, like hard labor as much as he did, I still want to try to do my part. He's a pretty big inspiration for me in the sense that he really does have humble beginnings. And while we don't always see eye to eye for things, and I've also come to accept I can be just like him, like I've learned so much from him. There's some good things, there's some bad things, but that's just the way life goes, right? You take everything that you have from your parents and you adjust for your next generation. That's it for today's video. Love y'all. Love you, Pops. Peace.